to you live from New Mexico to Colorado. It's the 10 Point Podcast. Yeehaw! My name is Bruce, and some might call it a desperate attempt to cling to our youth, and others say it's stupid, it's annoying, and it's making them change the station. We just call it the 10 Point Podcast. With me on the trail this week, first, he looks like one of the village people. It's Chris.
Listen, Harry.
That was before you put the hat on. And secondly, he's just been watching them castrate a horse. It's Andy.
It was going so well. You had such a good intro there.
Yes, both those little quips are from the same scene, I realise now that I've read them out loud. We are the 10 Point Podcast. You can hear us wherever you get your podcast, every single podcast app in the world. Type in 10 Point Podcast. We are there. Look for a little microphone, usually a sort of purple coloured sort of image, and you'll get us there. You can find us on YouTube too, where if you are watching, you can see us now in our wonderful Wild West backgrounds that we have this week. And you can find us on social media channels, Facebook, Twitter. Just look for 10 Point Podcast, all the one word and no numbers, and you'll get us there. Send us any messages, responses, requests, anything on there. And our website, 10pointpodcast.com, again, all letters, not numbers. Go there. Some articles from reviews and some other discussions there. You can also email us and donate there as well. Any recent articles and reviews up there, Andy? I can't remember what the last things were.
There's a new one going up to, well, it'll be up by the time this is out, which is Curious George versus Barney the Dinosaur.
Right, yes. Which takes us on to what have we been watching this week? I have not yet watched Godzilla vs. Kong. It is literally what I'll be doing at the end of the podcast. So you guys can spoiler-free discuss it if you wish, since I'm assuming at least one of you has watched it.
I watched it.
Yeah, it's all right. There you go. Spoiler free.
my spoiler-free review on this one is it's a pretty good film. Anybody that's a human is shit. The best acting comes from Godzilla and Kong and a little girl. The little girl's pretty good, and not Millie Bobby Brown. There's another little girl.
And even little.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the cast. But yeah, all humans suck balls. They're rubbish. But
As we do.
But Kong and Godzilla, some of the best CGI acting I've seen in a film ever.
Good to hear. It seems like a definitely a spiritual successor to Godzilla King of the Monsters, which was a very similar theme where everyone was there for the great monster bits and what's all this human nonsense going on at the same time. In terms of what we've been watching in the last week, I did watch Kong Skull Island, again another one in the series, which is a wee bit better in terms of the humans in that one, with an absolutely stellar cast. A lot of them half-arsing it and a lot of them given not a lot to do, but Kong Skull Island I did enjoy, and it's got me in the mood for it. And the only other film I've watched in the last week is Creed 2, finishing off my Rocky series. And Creed 2 is absolutely not necessary, and I didn't really want to waste my time. I wanted to watch a boxing film. It's about 2.5 hours long, and an hour and a half of it is all about him having a baby and his wife, girlfriend, I don't know if they get married, I think they get married in it, had her music career, which is absolutely dreadful. Like, she might be a good singer, but her music is awful, and I don't care about that. I just want to see some boxing going on, and that's fine when they get to the boxing bits. But yeah, Creed 2 is probably the least necessary of any of the Rocky series movies. Chris, anything other than Godzilla and Kong this week?
No. I haven't watched much at all because I've been playing my new toy. I got an Xbox on Monday and it's finally updated, so I can actually play it.
A 3-day update you've had. Fucking hell.
Pretty much. I think my mistake was I updated the old versions and realised that's not the right version, so then downloaded the new version and it updated all them. So we're finally good to go.
Yeah.
I was going to make a joke at one point about your new baby being here, but I thought maybe I don't want to. I don't want to go that route yet. Andy, anything else for you?
No, just Kong. Kong versus Godzilla, like as I like to call it. And other than that, I just booked getting my gutters fixed. That's about it.
That's exciting times. Yes.
Yep. It's been a banging week.
For all the movie news here, Andy's gutters. We better get on with this week's podcast then. Point number 1 on the 10 Point Podcast. The point of the podcast this week, and the point is the 1991 comedy western City Slickers. Brought to us by MGM, Castle Rock Entertainment, Nelson Entertainment, and Face Productions. Directed by Ron Underwood. Famous things that he directed before he did City Slickers, he did Tremors. and he is credited on every Tremors film beyond that, where it be through character creation and all that, because he was one of the writers as well. But that was the big film he directed before City Slickers. Then after City Slickers, Hearts and Souls, Mighty Joe Young, Pluto Nash, which came up at least, or at most a couple of weeks ago.
Shite.
He also directed 3 episodes of Reaper that I always mention
Ah.
whenever Reaper comes up.
What a series.
He has done 1 or 2 episodes of absolutely everything and many episodes of Once Upon a Time. He is one of those kind of directors that now does a TV show of every series. The film, City Slickers, written by Lowell Gans and Babalu Mandel, which I believe is actually his name. Babalu, don't know many of them. They are the creator of the sitcoms Laverne and Shirley and Joni Loves Chachi, neither of which I've seen, but I only know from Family Guy, referencing them all the
Yeah.
time in jokes that I don't get on Family Guy. But the two of them work together quite a lot, and one or both is responsible for films like Splash, Spies Like Us, Parenthood. Then they made City Slickers 1 and 2, and then after that, A League of Their Own, Greedy, Multiplicity, Ed TV, Robots, and then Tooth Fairy, the Dwayne Johnson rock version
what made
from
'em.
a few years ago. But yeah, a lot of comedy movies there. City Slickers stars Billy Crystal. Before he made City Slickers, was in The Princess Bride, Throw Mama from the Train, and When Harry Met Sally. And following City Slickers and its sequel, he was in Forget Paris, Analyze This, Analyze That, Monsters Inc., and Monsters University, and they were the kind of the big ones that he made beyond that. Any other Billy Crystal highlights not mentioned there?
The
Do you know
Oscars.
anything the Oscars, yes.
He is the Oscars.
I wasn't sure whether to put that down. Like, is he famous for the Oscars? Or
Aye,
the Oscars
he is the
famous?
Oscars.
Right, he is the Oscars. And then I put the one co-star down with Billy Crystal, Daniel Stern, who had pretty much an entire career in the space of 2 years. So Daniel Stern, while being the narrator on The Wonder Years, was in Home Alone 1. Yeah,
It's
so
blown across his mind there.
he is the guy who narrates The Wonder Years. Then in 1990, he made Home Alone 1. His next film he made was City Slickers, and the next film he made was Home Alone 2, and the entire time was still being the narrator on The Wonder Years. So that was like, all his success was in a 2-year period like that. And then obviously a couple of years later, City Slickers 2, then Celtic Pride, which I know Andy likes, and then he was in Very Bad Things. That's the title of the film, not a description of what he was in. And then he was the voice of Dilbert in the Dilbert cartoon. Was the last big Daniel Stern thing on his CV. To me, that's Daniel Stern. Any other Daniel Stern stuff? He is pretty much Marv from Home Alone to
Yep.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were
That's it.
the two main cast members that I mentioned from City Slickers. So I will steam on with the budget for City Slickers. On a budget of 27 million. Opening weekend in America brought back 13 million, and its final US gross was a whopping 124 million. It nearly made 100 million in 1991 on home soil. Its final worldwide gross was 179 million. A lot of money, therefore it got a sequel, as we know. It was released the 7th of June 1991, which means it was eligible for the 1992 awards season, which we have never covered before. But before we get to that, City Slickers is an Oscar-nominated film. It got 1 Oscar nomination. Jack Palance, I think it's Palance rather than Palance, so Jack Palance was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and he won. He won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his role in City
Yay!
Slickers, which
It's like the first film we've ever done as an Oscar winner.
well, a proper one. Alien got a couple of technical ones last week, but I don't know if we've had many actors who won Oscars for films we've done. He also won the Best Supporting Actor at the Golden Globes that year as well. But the Best Picture that year, 5 nominees for you to pick from: Beauty and the Beast, Bugsy, JFK, The Prince of Tides, and The Silence of the Lambs. They are your Best Picture nominees of '92.
Silence
I'll
of the
go
Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs.
It was, in fact, the winner, yes. Not a great year for the Best Picture there. And The Beauty and the Beast is the animated one, the Disney one. So, yeah, I don't know if it was the first ever one. I believe it might have been, but I'm very much prepared to be corrected on that. We like to compare and contrast. So the MTV Movie Awards of 1992, how does it compare to the Oscars? There was 1 nomination for the film, City Slickers at the MTVs, for Best Comedic Performance from Billy Crystal, and he won as well. It won its only nomination at both the Oscars and the MTV Movie Awards
That's
that
a
year.
first. That's never going to be beaten again.
Stay in the house.
Exactly, yeah.
Unless
2
Chris
for
picks
2.
Twilight.
Twilight, yeah.
It might be coming because you keep talking about it.
It would double up on the MTVs and the Razzies, I think,
Yeah.
not on the Oscars. Best movie of the 92 MTV Movie Awards. Pick your winner from Backdraft, Boys in the Hood, JFK, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Well,
is
Terminator
your-
2, innit?
Hands down.
Absolutely, it was. I probably ran away with it. I would have said that year because it was the moviest movie that ever movied in
How
1992.
did I get an Oscar nomination? Ah,
Exactly.
robbed.
Robbed. Better not go too far with it, touching on the 1992 Razzies. City Slickers not mentioned at all. Do not have to worry about that there. So, worst picture of 1992. Pick from these 5, and I've got as much description as I could be bothered to find for these.
Is that a Madonna
Worst
film?
nominee. Well, we'll see. Worst picture. Cool as Ice. Think about 1991. What do you think that film is about? It's called Cool as Ice.
Vanilla
Ice.
Ice.
Cool Runnings.
It's about Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice stars as not himself in a story that's not his life story, but he is like a white guy rapper sort of thing. So yeah, a created story around the character. of
8
Ice.
Mile.
Exactly, 8 Mile, but it's Vanilla Ice. Very good, yeah. Second nominee, Dice Rules. That's Andrew Dice Clay's vulgar and misogynistic stand-up concert mixed in with some sketches turned into like a movie of like concert with some other bits mixed in. Next nominee, I've never heard of this one, but someone tells me that Andy might have seen it or heard of it. Hudson Hawk.
Aye.
A Bruce Willis slapstick comedy action adventure about a burglar.
Yeah, it's not as good as you think it is.
I didn't think so, no. Next nominee, another one I think might be an Andy one, called Nothing But Trouble, a comedy horror written by, directed by, and starring Dan Aykroyd. Also has Chevy Chase, John Candy, and Demi Moore in it, called Nothing But Trouble.
I've never heard of this
awesome.
film, and I will be watching it later on.
There you go. Nominated for the Razzie in 1992. And the last one, Return to the Blue Lagoon, a sequel of the film The Blue Lagoon, starring Mila Jovovich, a podcast favourite. That one review that I read about it says it is so bad it is not even funny enough to be unintentionally funny. It just has nothing going about it at all. It had a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. The Return to the Blue Lagoon.
That's another film
So
I've
there
never seen. I'm putting that on my list as well for the weekend.
Okay. There you go. 5 nominees there. If you remember them all, try and pick a winner out of the 5.
Don't know. The last two I want to watch now.
Ice.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice, gotta be.
Hudson Hawk. The one
Ah,
that most
yeah.
excited Andy, I think, there. Or you'd seen the one you
I've
had
seen that one.
uh,
Yeah, the last two I need to see on the
last
list.
two. There you go. So that was the winner. City Slickers not mentioned, but it did win four other awards, other award ceremonies. Billy Crystal won 1, Jack Palance won 1, and 2 for Best Comedy at other award ceremonies. The film, I've got a very, very brief synopsis that is not particularly long, detailed, or funny, so I'll just run through what Sammy has given for a synopsis here.
Sami Zayn.
It's spelt like that. If that
Yeah,
helps.
here we go.
Mitch is a middle-aged big city radio ad salesman. He and his friends Ed and Phil are having a midlife crisis. They decide the best birthday gift is to go on a 2-week holiday in the Wild West, driving cattle from New Mexico to Colorado. There they meet Cowboy Curly, who not only teaches them how to become real cowboys, but also 1 or 2 other things about life in the open air of the West. That's as much as you're getting synopsis-wise. Which version did we all watch? Because I, on Prime Video, I've done a free trial of the MGM channel, and I watched that.
That's a plug and a half there.
Can I get more than a free trial, please?
I'm assuming it's just one. To be honest, there was another version, so.
No, I just watched the £1 Blu-ray version that I got from Poundland years ago, and which is the reason why I picked this.
There you go. I think there is only the one version. I don't think there is anything edited in any version. Andy, can you tell us why you picked City Slickers before we go on to the high points?
Like I just said, I got this in Poundland like a few years back. It's one of these films that I watched very, very young as a kid. It's one of my mum's kind of favourite kind of feel-good films that she puts on, that and stupid Dances with Wolves. So
Oh, that's a drag. I tried watching that recently. Oh
Yeah.
my god, it's tough to get.
So yeah, that was that was one of her favourite films. But then this is the one that I can actually sit and watch with her. So I've probably seen this too many times as a kid, but I've not seen it as a grown-ass adult. So I bought it on Blu-ray and then never watched it. So I thought now's the time, unwrap it from its cellophane. But it was in Poundland, so it doesn't bode well.
Right, yeah. Chris, am I right in thinking you hadn't seen it before? Is that right?
I haven't actually. I thought I might have, but no.
You had not
This is
seen
a
it.
new experience for me.
And I'm the same as Andy. I definitely saw it once or twice when I was a kid when it was on ITV. Feels like an ITV movie.
Definitely an
Might
ITV
be
film, this one.
ITV movie. ITV movie. Certainly 1 or 2 scenes stuck with me, and as soon as the film started, I was like, oh yeah, that, and that. But yeah, probably 20 years at minimum since I've seen it. So on to point 2 then. The high points, what we thought the best things and bits of the film were. Andy, you picked, so why don't you give us a couple of high points?
Unlike Chris, I'm going to go to the start of this film,
The start of the film.
I don't
Which-
always go to the end.
which is quite funny because like every time you put this film on, it's like you put the disc in, you know it says City Slickers, but then it starts and it's like, wait there, why is it in Spain and why are they doing some bull running? It's one of them confusing starts of a film. It's like, is this the right film? And then
The,
you get
I'd forgotten how that tied into it. Like, I thought, I don't remember them being these sort of adrenaline junkie people, but they aren't really. Like, they kind of do. They seem to do. They half-arse the whole thing of they love doing these amazing weekends, but then immediately when the film starts, they're like, no, we're not doing them anymore. You have to convince me to do it this time.
but yeah, I just liked all
It's a
the
good
cheap.
tradition, though.
It
Yeah.
is.
Like doing something out of your comfort zone every year.
Are you proposing it for us? Are
There
you?
we go.
The summer break for the
I
podcast.
was half expected Andy today. He's like, we should totally do this.
Oh, don't worry. I totally want to go cattle driving now. This film's put me in the mood for
Oh,
some
yeah.
cattle driving. But no,
Are you sure? The
Yeah.
fact that
What would be the equivalent of the UK version? Just moving a cow from field to field.
I think it's sheep herding, isn't it?
I would probably yeah. somewhere in the hills of Wales, just moving some sheep around. Probably would be what you do.
But no, the start of this film is it's one of these films that like kind of grips me. It's like, what the fuck's going on? But then you got a little bit of comedy, and then you know how I hate long dragging credits. But I was entertained with a little cartoon because the cartoon doesn't fit in the film at all, and it makes no sense at all. But
Apart from just a rancher.
well, yeah, but it's not like an animated film, so it's just
No.
unusual to see. It's like when Honey I Shrunk the Kids do it and stuff like that. It's just weird. But then it ties perfectly back in when he's getting his bum sewn back up.
Yeah, I
So-
felt like it was too long. They definitely went 5 people in the credit, like, acting wise, too long. Like, it did overstay its welcome, but I did enjoy the little guy with his lasso. I've got the Running of the Bulls definitely as my early high point as well. I don't know if are you marking down his his butt surgery as a high point as well, Andy, or
Yep.
will we move on? You're marking as a high point for you as well. Is it?
It just that whole thing is great because like just Marv, as I'm going to call him all the way through this. I think is it Phil in this one? Yeah, it's Phil.
I've got okay.
Yeah.
I mentioned them earlier. Can you name all 3 of them? What are the 3 main character names in this film?
Ed, Mitch, and Phil.
Right. Okay. 'Cause
He's on it.
about 3/4 of the way through the film, I was like, I have no idea what Bruno Kirby's character name is. It's like, I know it's Phil.
He was the one I
know he's
struggled with the most. I had
Yeah.
to actually properly Google his name.
Yeah.
Not Google, like, go to IMDb.
Yeah, I had luckily on Prime you've got that thing where it flicks up and I can be like, his name's Ed, right? Okay.
But yeah, just him taking the photo was just brilliant. It's like for prosperity.
And the doctor popping his head off at the back.
Yeah.
It was perfect timing. Yeah, good bit. I've got my first high point beyond the Running of the Bulls is the career day. I very much enjoyed.
I
Back
love
to
that
School,
guy.
Where definitely a nominee for. I did not know he was in this film. Jake Gyllenhaal turns
Yeah.
out to be Billy Crystal's kid. I had absolutely no idea. But career day, Mr. Morelli's story about construction was phenomenal. Was a great speech, and I often rant on here where they have people swearing for no reason just to get a laugh, but I think it was absolutely perfectly measured the amount of swearing he did, and he's like, it wasn't preposterous that he would use those words in front of the kids. The teacher was outraged, of course. I think it all worked really, really well. And then when Mitch steps up and does his life by decades, it's
Yeah.
absolutely perfect. His speech on that too. But yeah, the career day was definitely a high point for me. I very much enjoyed it.
Well, mine's is. I've got
He's
nothing
going
up
to the
until
end.
ranch. Yeah. Like nothing right up until the ranch, but everything from the ranch onwards I thought was brilliant. Like for 2 weeks to be a proper cowboy, that sounds like a great idea. I'd love to do that. And just burst a blister in my hand. That was sore. Sorry.
Like to happen on the podcast.
There we go. That's winning an award at the pointies. What a twist.
Like the first meeting of Curly as well. We think he's going to be this miserable badass who
That's
is just
exactly what
gonna-
he is.
Hmm?
That's exactly what he is. A miserable badass.
He's not as miserable as he makes.
No.
out. A part of Curly is coming into my low point, so I won't go too much here. But yeah, I thought Curly himself, I very much thought he was great. Like, I can see why Jack Palance won these awards for best supporting actor. The character is really good. But yeah, you can see that he's just like, I don't know, having a laugh with them. Like, he knows they're scared of him, so he can kind of wind them up like that. But I would say in an alternative universe, they wouldn't have killed him off, and he'd be the one to kind of like drag them through and be like, old Curly who hates us actually helps us through it. And I can't remember what
Yeah.
season 2 happens, but I'm assuming the ghost of Curly doesn't come back. But I think I remember what happens in that film. But
That's
not
not
yet.
I've never seen, so I've got no idea what happens.
You gotta watch it, Chris. Go watch it.
yeah, we'll get onto that at some point, I'm sure.
But that's actually one
but
of my other high points is the twist out of nowhere where Curly dies really early in this film.
It's far earlier than I remembered. Yeah.
And yeah, same with me, but it actually is like a shocker, and it does, like, it's one of these deaths where normally they're pointless, or they've built the character up that you really like them and stuff like that. But this, I think they just hit the nail right on the head where his death actually works, and then it kind of
Yeah.
makes them all change a little bit, and they don't dwell on it too much
Yeah,
either.
he's passed on. Yeah, he's passed on what he needs to pass on to them, and like they have learned from him what they need to know, and it's like I don't know if it's in his honor or whatever, they will follow through with it. And like you say, he doesn't. He his part in the film is there's absolutely no wasted time with Curly whatsoever the entire time he's in it.
Fun fact for you, I'll drop some in all the way through this. The last scene that Billy Crystal and him filmed was the bit where they're singing on the campfire. It was the
Right,
last.
yeah.
It was
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the last scenes that Billy Crystal filmed with them, and they actually did riff that for a bit, and then Billy Crystal just added in funny bits of the harmonica, and
The bit with it shaking was quite funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he actually played the harmonica himself as well.
It did. I did wonder because I thought, why would the character of Mitch know how to play the harmonica? It's quite a strange skill to have, but you don't know who can and can't do it. So I thought it was a strange thing for them to write into the film. But if actually Billy Crystal could do it, then it makes a lot more sense.
Well, it's the same with when he asked for his like favorite memory as well. That is actually Billy Crystal's favorite memory from his childhood. It's not made
Alright.
up for the
What,
character.
the New York Yankees thing.
Yeah, that is genuinely his thing. I dropped something.
Oh,
There we
What's
go.
weird though is that he's got a Mets hat on, and they're like big enemies, aren't they?
the Yankees and the Mets. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a fair point actually. Unless he was it maybe it was the Mets against the Yankees. Like I
Maybe.
personally don't know baseball enough. So he may have been going to Yankee Stadium and then his team beat the Yankees. Maybe was what he
Yeah.
was described.
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah,
Possibly. I don't know.
but that
Maybe.
was his favourite story. That was another wee fun fact dropped in there.
There you go.
So,
I need
fight.
There you go.
before we leave Curly too early, it's another one I've got. When Curly walks up behind him and Billy Crystal goes, "He's behind me, isn't he?" And you can see him coming the entire way, so you know that he is behind him. Can we determine whether that's the first ever "he's behind me, isn't he"?
I don't know,
I
but
was
I
wondering that.
remember Billy Crystal just being famous for this, and he seems to do it in a lot of films. I mean,
okay.
this is the film where I always go, hello. Like, this is like why like I do it, and I think everybody in the world does it because of Billy Crystal in this film. Whether you've seen this film or not, everybody has heard people going, hello. You go into your Xbox party, it's like, hello, can everybody hear me? People just do it, and it's from this film, so I don't know if
I think
he's
that-
behind me, isn't he? But
It could be the first instance, yeah. So I don't know if anyone is listening and knows of an earlier "he's behind me, isn't he?" Let us know because I want to know if Billy Crystal invented it for City Slickers.
I feel like he did. I'm claiming he's got it until somebody proves me wrong.
Yeah.
That Spanish fan
my
can come back and complain if she wants.
I've got the calf birthing scene because unless it was like really awesome visual effects, it looks pretty fucking real.
Well, fun fact for you.
Apart from when the cow's arse just kind of disintegrates into itself, is the only bit the cow looks
Right.
a bit fake.
Here we go. Fun fact for you. That was a real birthing thing. Billy Crystal had to birth 3 calves. They had 3. Yeah, they had 3 pregnant cows on scene because the director wanted to have multiple takes and cuts. So Billy Crystal actually birthed 3 calves.
There you go.
That's amazing.
That's a little bit.
Since we're discussing it, it's in my low point though. Like I did
Ah.
not need to see that much cow birthing. Like, okay, it could be implied, and okay, you could be like, oh, there's the cow coming out, and then I did not have to see the entire thing coming out and all. Oh, it was at that point. That was to me that was the lowest point of the film, was just unnecessary graphic nature of a cow being born.
It's
I did not
natural.
need to see that.
It's the
What?
it's the childhood birth stuff. It's magical. Can't be
Yeah,
anybody's low
Magic
point.
childbirth, yes. However, it is a low point seeing that much of a graphic nature of a cow birth, I'm afraid.
I thought it kind of worked because he was like, this person was like scared of his own shadow, and then he's like pulling a cow out of another cow. So
And then
I
he
thought
lost
it
his watch as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I thought I would have been back and got it.
I don't think I would have.
They never resolved that, did they? Because
No.
like,
Well,
they
you,
killed
like,
the cow,
you never see him with the watch on again, so I don't think he ever goes back for it.
but the cow was dead. You just could be like, right, fair enough then. And
You have to
Oh,
watch.
yeah.
You have to watch
it's
the
not
second one.
Ah, there we go. It's been a while. I've got one final high point. Is the horse funeral was a really good scene. Mainly the line of the woman was Bonnie going, I don't know why we had to bury the horse or something. She goes, well, the fall did most of the work. I thought it was a good line. And then when it comes to the point where, Cookie's broken both his legs, who wants to take him? And absolutely nobody offering to take him because they all hate him so much. I thought that was a good scene. That was probably my favourite scene outside of the career day, I think, in the entire film. That's my last high point.
See, I quite like Cookie's one when he was doing this whole thing for Curly's funeral as well. I quite like.
yeah.
Cookie didn't have much to do,
he's
but
up there with you. Look after him. Don't piss him off.
yeah, don't piss him off. One of my like overall kind of high points though is like, once again we're going to go down to practicality and practical sets. Like they didn't build sets; they just filmed this outside. Like brilliant.
Yeah.
And then like actually having just a herd of cows run through while Billy Crystal's holding onto a tree. Like
It's a spectacular scene. Yeah.
they actually did all
I
them
forgot to
stunts.
mention the stampede. That was my actual like high point of the thing. Was the whole stampede, him standing there with the grinder, and then it's like, oh, they're all running away. What are they running away for? And then all just like watching it, and then just you see them flocking back.
But yeah, proper stuntmen, and like I said, most of the actors did actually all their own stunts because Billy Crystal got knocked over a few times when the cow comes through the tent when he goes to try and warn the person, and suddenly there's just a cow running towards him and stuff like that.
Mm.
But yeah, I
With
quite
the
like actors.
stampede.
Yeah. But yeah, that scene was brilliant, and it's got to be hard to film back then as well.
Yeah.
I'm out of high points.
That's pretty much it, I think.
Okay.
There you go.
On to low points. Point 3 on the low points. I'll continue what you were saying because one of my low points is the silly little coffee thing causing the stampede. I thought they could have found a more sensible thing. I feel like it wouldn't be noisy enough to cause
No,
a
and
stampede.
I've definitely farted louder than in my sleep. So like, imagine if they're all sleeping and just had a fart.
And there was never any stampedes when you farted.
You just woken yourself up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I've woken myself up, but no, like wee coffee grinder on a fucking stampede comes at you.
Oh, disgrace. And then I couldn't I know it shows off how talented Curly is at what he does, but the fact that the little coffee grinder going "Nee," sets off the stampede, and all he does is just shoot a gun, and the whole stampede just stops. Like, she should be more scared of the gun going off than they are of the coffee grinder.
They respect Curly.
Yeah, but Curly's he's so spot on. You know, I know what I'll do. I'll go here and I'll shoot my gun, and it'll be perfect. So I'll give them that.
It must have happened about 100 times, and he's like, fucking grinders again.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
My first low point is fucking Arlene. Right from that one scene on the plane, where I thought it was just a stranger wanting to get past, and she's like, I'm standing. Nope, that's his wife. And do you know what? I don't condone like people getting cheated on, but she was a cunt and deserved it.
Oh well. It's all set out there on that one.
Having to like pretend you're asleep, so you have to spend time with your wife at a party. Like,
oh jeez. Right. Fair enough.
I apologise for that, Buster, folks.
Oh my god. This is played well into my recasting later on.
Oh,
Andy,
God.
any low points?
I don't know how I follow
Oh,
that. I'll kind of agree with you on the birthing scene, but knowing that it was actually practical and wasn't like a puppet or whatever kind of makes it okay. But the bit I didn't like, there's just this random bit just after Curly's dead and stuff like that, and then the other guys just become utter barelens. But then it allows Phil just to go absolutely fucking mental and just kind of finally snap. But yeah, that scene it was a bit weird and not needed.
There were two in and out, the other kind of weird cowboy guys, because they were hassling Bonnie at the beginning, and then they then stay away from her for the entire time, because obviously Curly was there threatening them, and then it's like immediately just come back into the film again, and then they're okay, like as in, right, we've got to do this, we've got to go there, we've got to go that, and then as soon as like the cook's legs get broken, they just decide, oh, we're going to get smashed, drink all the booze, try and kill the cow, and then try and kill the people who are helping us, or not, probably not try
I thought
to.
they were going to, because I'd never seen it. I thought they were going to redeem themselves, get the cattle there, and they're actually going to be alright. No, they were just assholes.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. Definite low point for me as well.
Mine, I've got pretty much everything right up until they reach the ranch is boring, and apart from the running of the bulls, that's quite funny.
Yeah.
All the rest of the stuff is just a bit shit.
Yeah,
and then
it dragged on a tiny bit. So it was 27 minutes till the three of them were standing at the fence. I didn't put it in stats, but I did make a note of it. But yeah, nearly half an hour until they actually got to the ranch in the first place. So it's probably, I don't know, 10 minutes too long.
Yeah, this could be quite controversial, but I put Curly's death as a low point because,
Oh.
like I said, I'd never seen it. Like for him just to pass away, just sitting there, I thought it was just a bit shit. They could have done him a lot better.
Yeah, he
Really?
was my definite favourite character in the film.
Yeah.
But like Andy says, I think they timed it okay. Like I
Well,
would
yeah,
prefer
like
better.
you can see why he died, but I thought he
Chris, you
seemed
don't-
like he was an actual cowboy, just
You need to watch the second one,
taking
Chris.
it through.
Yeah.
Oh well,
It's not directly a Whistler sort of situation like with Blade, but it must be done a similar line of thinking as Whistler was in the
Yeah.
Blade series. Any other low points, Andy?
Like, I kind of liked it, but I kind of didn't, so I'm going to put it in the low. Is the twist at the end out of nowhere where the guy's going to murder all the cows. Like, what a dick.
Oh, yeah,
Uh.
yeah. I was trying to compute that. I was like, I'm going to give you all your money back for helping me because I really need the money from selling these cows. And I'm like, but why don't you just keep the money? Like, it seemed like the reason he was killing all the cows was I really need the money, but I'm going to give you your money back for helping me. But he doesn't say it's really really good money for the meat
Yeah,
now. So
it's
I was
probably
like,
to pay
oh,
them
you
off
must
because
be
they
good.
actually did the job, and they're like, oh, if you're going to sell them all now, we want it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they just moved them from one bit to another and just did that for ages. I thought they moved them from one bit to another. They went to an abattoir, got killed, and they got a whole new batch. Like I know a few months down the line.
I kind of think
Well, I
that's
feel
what they did, but I think his business is this like holiday experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's the experience of what was it like old fashioned something or
Cowboying,
other,
yeah.
cattle cowboying thing. Yeah,
Cattle
Yeah,
drives.
it's probably as part of the whole thing. You drive the cattle backwards forwards, and then they retire the cows when they get too old. I guess is probably how they do it. My final low point, which it kind of goes away, but for about I don't know half an hour of the film, Mitch believes all these weird stories about Curly, and they are like scared. Mitch and the others are scared of Curly. And as I said before, you could tell Curly's just kind of having a bit of a laugh with them, but they seem like genuine. And there's the one bit where Billy Crystal and him are alone, and he's like, "If you're gonna kill me, just go ahead and kill me." And it's like, well, he's obviously not going to kill you. Like, why are you being like that? And I thought it was unnecessary how much they were like frightened of him. It'd be more funny if we were just trying to antagonize him a little bit and have poke a bit of fun at him and make jokes at his expense to make him a bit angry. Because I never felt at any point was Curly, oh, he killed a man from neck to nuts, whatever it was they said. So I thought it was a bit of a strange sort of shoehorning in of so that they could, him and Curly's actually okay. It's like, obviously he's going to be okay. He's been a rancher for however many years he's been doing.
What I got confused about was the ranch hands, the two guys. Like, had they never met Curly before, or what? Because they just seemed to like not know him.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're scared. I feel like if I was there with him, I'd be terrified as well because he's got a presence. I would definitely be shutting up.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a very fair question, I would say, Chris. My absolute last thing in low points I've put here because it's neither a high nor low point. It's a question I have. How on earth did the cook draw a face on his arse? Like,
they got confused as well. Is it a happy or a sad face? Obviously, it was upside down, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
But it's like, does he have like a pen? Like a felt pen on him, and he's also hammered and driving a cart at the time. Like, how did he do it? I don't...
That's what Moonshine
He's been
does to
sitting
you.
there the whole time with that, and his mum just waiting for a situation to arise.
I did it before they left. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Any other low points?
No,
No, I'm out.
Oh, yeah, that's it then. We'd better move on to point 4 then, the stats. And around this time, normally we hear a special little thing about the stats.
I thought I heard a shit.
You did, in fact, hear one, Chris. You heard 8 of them. And I say 8 of them. I've got 4 other swears, but I think at least a couple of them also had shit involved as well, like bullshit or something like that. So probably in the region of 10 shits were heard in the entire film, 12 swears in total. But Andy, what have you got on the shit front? If that's a thing.
Well, this is quite an easy shit front because this is like they're out in the nature. This is where people normally shit back in the days before toilets.
As well.
You see them doing it. They even talk about it, how he gets an infection in the bush when he's making. Who calls it making?
Making. Yeah, it's a very American thing, I think. Say, I was making over there.
Making.
Like,
But yeah, there was a lot of shits, actual shits in this film as well. Because obviously there was no toilets and they had to show people having a shit.
I
thought it was funny how it's like nonchalant about it. Are you finished with that newspaper? Oh yeah, great. On you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
did what do you call her, Supergirl? Was she having a shit on the top of the ridge with her headphones in? Because I was kind of confused by that whole thing.
I don't believe so.
yoga in or something like
I
Right.
think she was
Right,
meditating.
because
Yeah, listening.
it just seems like I'm going to go have a shit at the top of the hill, put my headphones in, and then have a shit.
But the whole headphones thing, like, don't you put headphones on when you're meditating to get, like, I don't know, crickets and waves and sort of relaxing sounds? Wouldn't being out in the wilderness in the middle of nowhere, isn't that supposed to be the relaxing sound? Or are just the cows mulling around just too much of a background
Maybe.
noise for her?
Hence the reason why I go back to it. That's when she was having a shit.
Maybe. She didn't want to hear herself having a shit.
Yeah.
On with the other stats then. 0 explosions, not too shocking about that. However, 4 deaths there were, and 10-point podcast favourite, we had a cow death, which not had one of them for a while. The 2 horse
Or
deaths.
did we though? Or did it come back? And that's the same one that Jim
Yeah.
Carrey had to put down.
Very good, yeah. And then, of course, Curly's death as well. I was expecting we might get another sneaky death in there somewhere, but no, Curly was the only human death in the entire film. The film is City Slickers, so I thought I'd count how many cities there were and how many slickers there were. 2 cities, as in New York and Pamplona, are the only cities that were in the film, because they never went to a city in New Mexico or Colorado. And then slickers, I'd googled what slicker was. I'm still not actually sure what a slicker is, but I'm assuming it's the people who were on the cattle drive with the experts. There was 8 of them, including the Blob from whichever Adam Sandler movie it is that he plays the Blob.
Oh yeah,
Either it was Billy Madison or Big Daddy or something.
it is. He's the head teacher or something like that.
Yeah, so he was one of the slickers. And did they say the thing in the movie City Slickers? Did they say City Slickers?
Yes.
They did. They well and truly had a trailer-ready version of the guy leading the kind of the ranch thing saying City Slickers. Chris, any stats?
Yes, there were 39 Yeehas or Yahoo variants, which I had to count 3 times because I fell asleep through the film twice.
Not again.
Another Chris classic. Not easy to say.
Yep. I'll keep watching it at stupid times. That'll teach me.
And Andy, any stats?
Nah.
Just the shits. On to point 5 on the podcast. It's the ever favouted 10-point podcast quiz, and hopefully keeping a streak alive of great quizzes. It's Chris.
I don't know. Last week was
fine,
shocking.
I'll accept that. That wasn't that bad. I can't remember. Oh, it was Scream Queens. That was it. And Kings.
Which actors have once at some point or another screamed louder
Screamed.
than another? I think.
I did put a lot of effort into this, so you might get it. You've already answered half these questions anyway.
Oh, classic.
So we'll start with Bruce.
Uh-huh.
What event were Mitch, Ed, and Phil attending right at the start?
Is it just like the running of the bulls or running with the bulls in Pamplona? I don't know if I had an actual.
I'll take that. That's pretty much what I had. Andy, what time was Mitch born at?
5:43.
No. I'll pass it over.
5:16.
5:16.
Oh, I didn't think it was 16 or 14. Yes.
Bruce, what was the job of the guy that went before Mitch at Career Week?
He was in construction. I don't know if I need to be more
That's
specific
pretty
than
much
that.
what I've got. Construction worker. Andy, what weird talent does Danny, Mitch's son, have?
He can dislocate his shoulder, pop his shoulder.
That's it.
That was the second most repulsive thing in the film. Was that.
I wonder if that was actually real him popping his shoulder.
Oh, it was a horrible noise.
To
that
ask
made
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
I've lost where I am now. Bruce, what was Mitch told to find when he went on the cattle drive?
Was it his smile?
Yeah.
Shawn-
I meant Andy to get that because it's a Shawn Michaels reference.
Yeah.
I've added an extra question here somewhere. Andy, what caused the stampede?
Coffee grinder, battery operated.
Yep. Oh, go for details.
Well, because you always scream in the details. Bruce can say something
That's
vague
nice,
and you
isn't it?
actually fuck me right up.
Bruce, who or what is Norman?
He's a
Fuck
calf.
off, Chris.
He's a calf.
And Andy, what was the flavour of ice cream suggested for after Mitch's sea bass and asparagus meal?
Rum and raisin.
Correct.
Oh, there we go. I thought that was a hard one.
I know my food.
Yeah, I think Bruce got it by 1.
Oh, hey, I
This
was
is
stolen the time, I think. Got me.
So
Yeah.
I get specific ice cream, a specific time. Bruce
See
gets.
what I've said? I've
What's
added a
Norman?
question in here somewhere, which has fucked it up. Because you
Your
were
quizzes
supposed to
are
get,
fucked up,
his
you
final
prick.
one.
Fucking hell. Deadly accurate for Bruce, and I get fucked.
I mean, you
Oh,
lost
other
that
way around.
point because you got the time wrong. Like, I got the time right in that specific question. Like, it was a close one.
See, I thought you would have known it because it specifically flips up as to 16. Then she gets then you gets the phone call.
I'm still paying attention at the start of the film. That's what I know. Like, I tend to miss little bits later on. Anyway, another good quiz. Definitely
Controversial quiz.
Controversial again. Point 6 on the 10-point podcast: movies within movies. We all have our special things we do for the movies and movies. I'm not going to run through them, but my normal one, I look for parodies and references. Mainly references in this one. A couple of old cowboy movies mentioned too. So, The Fly, Red River, High Noon, Deliverance, Rawhide, and Bonanza. A couple of them are TV shows rather than movies. They were parodied or referenced in the film. The singing scene that you mentioned earlier on about Curly and Billy Crystal, they were singing the Tumbling Tumbleweed, which makes me think of the Big Lebowski, because that's the song at the beginning of that. And that is it for movies and movies from me, because there wasn't a hell of a lot. Everything cowboys, I don't know, like other cowboy movies might be mentioned in little bits here and there. I know Jack Palance has been in a few himself. So Chris, what have you got for movies and movies?
Andy covered this last week. There was nobody making an appearance from a previous film, as far as I could see.
I did a deep dive and I was looking through the entire cast thinking surely somebody down here, and but a couple of close ones. There was Jack Palance was in Batman, but not Batman Returns.
Yeah,
that was the
I
closest.
noticed that one as well. There's somebody else that was in Batman as well. But as for putting us into a film, this is quite possibly the easiest one I've done. Bruce is definitely Phil, mostly because you look like Daniel Stern.
I thought that was coming.
Andy is Ed because he's always the one that comes up with all these plans and ideas, and I really think you should grow a moustache.
I think it would suit your face, actually. Yeah.
And by the power of elimination, that leaves me as Mitch. And to be fair, it does take a lot of persuasion to get me to do stuff. Like, it took, 4 shots for me to do the podcast.
Yeah, a good point, yeah.
So I thought it was quite easy.
I don't know. All the way through this film, Chantel thought that you were Phil. Like...
No, I'm not that bad.
No, just purely for when you want to, like, play Xbox, just like, oh, I'm tired. And just fall asleep on the sofa, and then your kids go away, and your wife goes away. And it's like, oh, yes, that's all I was imagining all the way through this.
Yeah.
I had Chris as Phil as well, to be honest. But that's because you have to be Ed, Andy. I don't know why. I don't know. Me and Chris again always cast you as the same person. But I thought I had to be Mitch, because I think I'm the oldest. I think I'm closest to the midlife crisis, I think. So I think I had to be Mitch in this situation. But yeah, I had Chris as Phil as well.
Yeah, Chantel was just like, that's Chris.
Yeah. But the other one I had for recasting is, it's again Andy, but Andy and Sean would be the Shalowitz brothers, because as soon as they got the chance to, they were lassoing each other. Like Andy and Sean did in
I meant to ask you, like, at what point or how long into doing the caravan do you go full Red Dead Redemption?
Yep. Fucking Sean, the prick. Every time.
You're definitely the Shalowitzes. You can recast whichever one you want to be at the two of them. Andy, this is your section, movies and movies. What have you got for us?
This one's pretty easy, but what a film it is in my head anyway. Right. So you've got your kind of average Joe who's just been kind of working the simple life. However, he's lost his job. So he takes up robbery with one of his mates, and he tries to rob a house. And even has a little cool name called the Wet Bandits, and they like to leave the taps on and stuff like that. However, after being foiled by a young Macaulay Culkin, he has to go on the run from the cops because he manages to escape just as he was getting put in jail, and decides, I know, I'm going to go see my old friend, and we're going to meet up again and go on a cattle ride because the police can't find him out there. After that, he's laid low for a few years. He comes back, goes to New York City this time because why not? And then he becomes the Sticky Bandits.
Well, he lives there in City Slickers.
There you go. So yeah,
that's a very easy one. Yeah.
So yeah, then he becomes the Sticky Bandits and then tries it again. But once again, Macaulay Culkin foils him. So lays low for a bit longer, escapes jail once again, and then goes back with his mates and goes on another cattle drive.
Yeah.
All those films fit in.
They do. They very much fit together. Yeah, the only thing, escaping the police is the only, I don't know, maybe loophole.
You don't see that bit. You don't see that bit.
But I don't know, how long do you get in jail for breaking and robbing, or trying to rob?
I don't know, it didn't seem that long, because there wasn't that big a gap between Home Alone 1 and 2.
Exactly, yeah. So I think it could very well be that Marv is actually pretending to be Phil. Yes, amazing. Stick with Andy, though, because point 7 is Andy's hypotheticals.
Right, we'll start off with We'll go for Bruce this time. We'll go for Bruce. So, Bruce, I'm going to give you a meal, and you need to tell me the perfect ice cream
All right, okay.
to end. So,
Find me all that's coming from mine.
so
On you
right, a battered haggis supper was the
Okay,
perfect ice
right.
cream to go at the end of this.
Right, for non-Scots, that is a haggis, deep fried and battered with chips. And I'm trying to think what, because like that is your most favourite meal. That's your death row
Aye.
meal is battered haggis and chips. So I'm thinking, what would you then want to follow it up with? So, are you a mint chocolate chip kind of guy?
That's exactly what it is.
There we
Yep,
go.
you're right.
There we go.
Perfect.
There we go. Sign
So-
me up.
Yeah,
I
for
can
mine
work
it's
for-
cookie dough ice cream after everything.
Right, so yeah. So hypothetically, Chris, if an alien came down,
Yeah.
This film was perfect for this point.
and she was like super hot, and there was no way your wife could find out because as soon as like she just wants mad crazy sex with you, Chris, she then flies off. Would you?
No, same reason as Mitch. Like you'd know about it, and then
Okay.
it would just ruin the rest of your relationship.
The
Okay.
correct
It'd
response
just eat you up.
is she a redhead?
That is the correct response,
Ah!
Chris.
Forgot about
Chris. Bruce gets both points.
Yeah,
what an amazing guess
I
on
win-
that.
Hypothetically, I win 0.7.
that.
Yeah.
There were so many, like there was 3 or 4 times I thought, I'm gonna write that down as one of the hypotheticals, and I thought, no, I'll let Andy do it.
As soon as he said that, I was just like, I was definitely because it was him that came up with it in the film. I was like, that's why he's Andy.
yeah, exactly, yeah. I did like that Mitch then took it to Curly and asked.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But I suppose you must struggle for discussion for banter when you're out on a cattle walk. There's only so many times you can say, "Oh, look at that cow over there." Like, must get a bit boring. Point 8 on the podcast is our nominations, where we can nominate anything we want about the film for the Pointy Awards at the end of the season. I never remember if we have tradition here, but Andy, why don't you go first? Give us
Right,
some
I'm going to put
nominations.
best death. Curly. What way to go? Just sitting staring out at the open range. That was a good death.
Very peacefully. You cannot wish for a more peaceful death than just being just. I'm just dead,
Yeah.
dying.
I'm going to put best stunt for Billy Crystal holding onto a tree in the middle of a stampede. Fair play to him. That must have been terrifying. What else have I got? Come back to me because I forgot one.
Right, Chris, why don't you give us a few others?
I've gone for the Random Appearance Award. A young Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, that
No
was on the
idea he was
list.
going to appear in the film.
No, same.
Biggest twist, Curly dying. I thought he was going to get him through to the end. Worst plan, letting them take guns. Like, what happens if a nutter goes in this thing and then, like, what happens? Gets a gun and goes, bang, bang, you're dead. Nobody's ever going to know.
Yeah, out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, in between states, crossing state lines as well. It's like, yeah, never find it.
I've gone for best quote. When Curly is asked if he's killed anyone today, he goes, "They ain't over yet." And best scene, the Stampede.
Very good.
Right,
There you go.
Chris,
Am I
jog
forgetting something?
my memory before you go and steal more. No, I just literally forgot it again.
Another podcast favourite moment there, I think.
Balls.
I'll carry on, see if you can remember it again.
Okay, there you go.
I've got joint for most unexpected. Jake Gyllenhaal has to be the winner, but I'm nominating Lisa Simpson showing up randomly out of nowhere. As well. A 20-year-old Lisa Simpson, as it were. Worst plan, which it kind of bothers me into the film. The plan was, okay, you take the injured guy, and then we'll follow with the cattle. And then they get into more trouble, and it's like, oh no, what we're going to do now, we'll take the cattle, you guys go on. And then the ones go ahead and like, all right, we're fine. The 3 of them will bring the cows. And then they just wait. They don't ever say to the people who run the ranch, it's like, you'd better go and help them because everyone knows.
They did send out a search party. They did say we did send out a search party,
Oh,
but
right.
it never got to them.
What
So
the
now
hell?
there's more people lost in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's just like everyone's just randomly around Colorado trying to find each other. But yeah, I thought it was a bad idea. Was there's not actually, but then if they did, I'll maybe retract that. The Michael Pena Award for Best Storytelling. I went for Mitch's mum on the phone in the morning. She must have said every year for the last 38 years. She also had that exact same phone call. Worst scene, I'm going for the unnecessary graphic cow birth. I think we've done away with supporting. So best actor, I'm going to go for Jack Palance. I thought he was amazing, and I did.
That's
I
what I was gonna add in.
had that before I knew that he'd won Oscars for it. I didn't know that. Worst father figure out of the bunch. I'm going for Phil because he cheated on his wife with a woman at his work in his car, and at least we see Billy Crystal being friendly with his kids, which is I don't know if you had the trivia note that his daughter was his daughter in the film. Actually, Billy Crystal's daughter, despite how much she looks like Jake Gyllenhaal, she's actually
I know.
yeah, she looks identical. They're brilliant casting as brother and sister, despite the fact that he has a sister who's also an actress. It's like,
I think maybe Jake Gyllenhaal's mum should be asking. No, Jake Gyllenhaal should ask his mum questions.
But yeah, I'm having Phil as worst father figure just for the way he acts in the early bit of the film. Most underused, I love Jeffrey Tambor, and he has one scene in this film. I thought he could have been used more. I wish he had gone on the thing with them. Worst villain, the idiot cowboys who just randomly like go crazy in the middle. Most obvious name, well, not one I had in a while. I've had struggled this season. Most obvious name, the cook is called Cookie. And then I skipped over this because Chris had another one, but I want to say this one's better. The best line of the film when Ed says, "I can get an erection anytime I want. Watch." a great line. Andy, have you remembered what?
Yeah, right. Best actor. I'm putting Billy Crystal down because he's amazing. He needs to be in more shit. Like I said, he's got lines that I just feel like he invented, like the whole "Is he behind me?" and "Hello." Just classic. And the last one I kept forgetting was the score. Because every time I think of a Western, no matter what film it is now, it is that City Slickers little jingle they put in.
Yeah.
It is just amazing. Like, they blend it in with other songs and it just kind of filters into that little tune they do. And it's just a Western song to me.
We often do films on here that have songs, and we're like, oh, we always nominate songs for best song and all that. But this has, like you say, Western music, and it has them singing songs.
Yeah.
There's not actually much actual songs in it. The song when they're running with the bulls at the beginning, I remember liking the music, but I could not tell you what it sounds like now that the film's over. But I liked the music in that scene as well, so I agree. Is that the last one of your remembered
Aye,
nominations?
that's what I remembered.
On to the moral of the story then, point 9. This is what we thought the lessons that this film was trying to teach us, and I think it was very heavy on the lessons, this one. So what have you guys picked out? Chris, what have you got as the moral of the story?
Don't walk where you're not supposed to walk because there might not be someone with superhuman strength to save your little ass.
Exactly what I've got written as my I didn't do a haiku because that guy had that line. I thought, I can't do any better than that. So no haiku, but yes, don't walk where you're not supposed to walk, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Andy?
Drugs are bad.
Yeah, that was the follow-up. Don't do drugs, he said after it. Yeah, amazing. The other two were a cowboy doesn't leave his herd. That was a message that was it was said in the film. Another one, do you know what the meaning of life is? It's this one thing. I thought that literally is the film is about that, and that's what the driving force behind the whole thing is. On to point 10 on the 10-point podcast, the 10-point rating, where we rate the movie out of 10. Andy, you picked it. You get to go first and tell us what you've given it and why.
Right, I've not seen this film in a long time. Usually I see the second one more because I feel like I like the second one more because it's funnier and more comedy. Whereas this one's like the one I remember watching with my mum and stuff like that, and it not being as funny. However, in reflection, this film like covers a lot of ground of like serious stuff, but makes it funnier. And it's just going to be one of these westerns that I can watch. It's a feel-good family film, and it's a bit funny. It's not laugh out loud funny, but it's a bit funny. So it gets a solid 8.
8 from Andy. I'll go next because I have also seen it. I thought it was pretty much what I thought it was going to be. Like, it was okay. I don't think it's aged very well, despite what Andy has just said. My opinion was, I think it's not as funny as it was. And also, I don't think it's quite as dramatic as it once was. I think in the 90s, it might have been a bigger scale. It might have felt like a bigger scale to it. But I think it's not aged particularly well. I think also maybe because I'm a bit closer to a midlife crisis, the film feels different to me than it was when I was a kid, and I'm laughing at them. But now I kind of sympathise with them a bit more. So I'm going right in the middle. I'm just going to give it a 5 out of 10 for me. Bang average for me. And Chris, who had never seen it before, how did you find City Slickers?
I enjoyed it after about 30 minutes when they got to the actual ranching part. It got a lot less funny as the film wore on, but it didn't make it necessarily a bad movie. It blended the humour and the seriousness perfectly, I thought. So I give it a 6. The 30 minutes at the start just kind of It's too long to wait for good times to start.
Yeah, and like you said, they do kind of run out a little bit as well. It's very.
Yeah.
We didn't mention the river scene at the end. I'm assuming it was nobody's kind of missing high point or anything like that, but the cow
No.
going in the water.
Oh,
It
Norman
was-
got me. It was emotional. That's
Yeah.
why it scored so high.
I kind of had the feeling of being harrowed by it when I was younger. Like, I remember when the film started and the baby cow was born, I was like, oh, I remember the birth because of how graphic it is. And oh god, the cow gets in the river. And then I remember like welling up when I was a kid. But yeah, I think now that I know that he gets out okay and all that. Also, one thing I picked up when I was watching it, and we're not running long on time today, is his family come to pick him up at the airport at the very end of the film, and he's got the cow in the cage, and he puts the cow in the car, and then he gets in and drives himself home. It's like, why would the wife who just drove to pick him up just drive him home again? He's been on a horse for 2 weeks. Like, the guy probably wants to rest, and he's flown back across the country, and he just hops in the car and says, "Oh, I'll drive me home with my cow in the back here." I don't know. It was.
That's another bit I forgot to mention. Is when they get to it brings back the whole the Venom and the Bulls thing. Where he stands there and goes, "Oh, my ass is just sore watching this." It's got a lot of good moments.
Yeah, it's yes, it does. It has got bits that have stuck.
I'd watch the second one because I remember it being better. So that could be my first 10-point film.
Yeah, the official score from the podcast is a 6. That's what we get for City Slickers. So we'll see if City Slickers 2 does any better. Before we get any further, I've done a bit of thinking and come up absolutely dry. Chris, do you have a guess of what Andy's theme is with these 4 films he's picked? So far?
Fuck! I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, Blade 3, Little Shop of Horrors, Waterworld, and City Slickers. I cannot connect them
What a connection!
at all. Like,
I
went down
black
the route
hair.
of
I don't know.
Black hair, no.
I went down the route of Saturday Night Live, but I couldn't find anything like that would tie Blade 3 to Saturday Night Live. So is it Saturday Night Live in some way or another? No.
But fun fact for you, it's nothing to do with Thatcher linking it together. Rick Moranis was meant to be in this film, but his wife got diagnosed with cancer, so he couldn't do it.
Which role was he going to be?
He was going to be the brother, the guy with the mustache.
Okay. Right. Okay. So I could not yet. We've solved Chrissy's theme, but Andy's theme, I am absolutely no closer.
There's still time yet. There's still more films.
I think that's 4 of 7.
Once you tell us, is it going to be like, oh, that's so obvious?
Aye.
Or is it no? Is it like your one where it was dystopian world where nothing was dystopian?
Everything was a post-apocalyptic dystopian feature in season 1.
Except for Chef, which you did say. It was
I did
not
say
Chef,
except for Chef.
Yeah.
Neither is what's it called? Idle Hands. That's not a dystopian world.
It's a fucking hand that moves by itself. That is a dystopian feature right there.
That's what we're working in, that sort of area of connection. And Blade also wasn't the future, like, either.
Just because it said present day at the start or whatever, or now.
It was dystopian, they'll give you that, and it was definitely apocalyptic when half the world was vampires. But yeah, so yeah, we're no further forward to guessing what Andy's theme is. On to the next episode, though, and it's my pick. And I say Andy kind of snatched City Slickers sort of one underneath me, but I'd already opted that I wasn't going to pick it. So I've done a slight reshuffle because the film I was going to pick instead of City Slickers was quite similar. So I've gone quite different. And I've got a bit more modern. I'm going to 2010, starring nobody that I can see is notable, so I won't bother mentioning it. I'm going horror, and I'm going the film just called Devil, the one word Devil from 2010. If you want, I can kill a bit of time if you want to do a bit of googling and react and see.
Don't know if I've seen this one.
I don't know. But yeah, I've gone deep into my films that I'm not sure everybody might have seen. Don't go looking too far because it is a spoiler one. You want to see spoiler free, but if you recognise it from,
it'll be one of these films that
I've never seen it.
Yeah. It might be hard to come by. I had it on my list because it was on Netflix. It is now no longer on Netflix, but you can rent it and all that sort of stuff. But yes, Devil 2010 is my pick for next week. Anyone found it and yes or no seen it?
Let me see.
Chris has not seen
it.
Yeah,
Elevator, I've seen it.
The elevator, right? Okay, the elevator's the giveaway. So right, Andy has seen it. I thought you might. I felt like you were the one of the two that might have seen it. So yes, that's what we have next time on the podcast. You all have 7 days now to watch the film Devil 2010. I think you might need the year to discern it from other ones. Another belter of a one for everyone to Google.
I know. You really fucked the season right up, haven't you?
I'm on a streak with them. So yeah, 7 days. Look out, Devil, and we'll catch you next time on the 10 Point Podcast.